I want to ask you first something. Are you in love with Romania? Because I saw that you have a lot of posts about Romania.
I've loved Romania for many years now. I have a company with many team members in Romania: Radu, Raluca, Vlad, Theodora. Like I have a great, great team in Bucharest and Cluj. So I used to go to Romania a lot before I got into politics and before I saw all the craziness that we're seeing now. So that's why it's a bit heartbreaking for me that years ago I used to go to Romania all the time, and now I'm a bit scared to go to Romania. So it's just such a crazy change that I've had.
So you know very well Romania. This is the reason that you are very interested in what happened here in Romania in December.
No, that's not why I'm interested. I'm interested because it's a very important event, or it's a case study for the rest of Europe. We heard Thierry Breton say that what was done in Romania may be needed in Germany, the biggest democracy in Europe. So for me, what's happening in Romania is not only about Romania, it's about Europe, it's about the rest of the world. So same thing that what happened in Brazil was a lot more than just Brazil. And obviously what happened in the US impacted the rest of the world. So that's why what happens in Romania will impact other European countries, potentially even Germany, that will impact the rest of the world.
I want to ask you something because I saw that you referred to elections in 2016 in US about what happened with Trump that time, and this happened also in Romania with Russian interferes. What they said, you look that it's the same situation like was at these elections in US when they try to punish Trump in the elections. Now it's the same in Romania. You saw what happened with the Georgescu's team also. The police was at their home.
Yeah, so in the US, we're kind of past that. It doesn't work anymore, the whole Russian interference. So after what we saw what happened in Trump in 2016, we're pretty immune to it. But in Eastern Europe, because of your history with the Soviet Union and because of the Ukraine war, there's still that fear from Putin, that fear from Russia. So it just makes it a lot easier to scare people by saying there's Russian interference. But I've gone into it. I've gone into the details. The claims are ridiculous. I've got them written down that it's a bunch of TikTok accounts that were promoting Georgescu. And look, it's even worse than the US, because in the US, what they did is they came out with claims and they launched an investigation to try to scare people, okay, to scare voters. But they didn't cancel an election. With Romania, they took it a step further. Hey, no investigation, no ruling, nothing. We're going to just cancel the election and then investigate and then try to find something. And so far, they haven't found anything except a bunch of TikTok accounts talking about Georgescu.
It's very clear that they don't have any proof. They didn't show to the people any proof until now. We are claiming this, but nobody show us nothing, just some stories, nothing concrete.
I've gone through the proof and I've got them written down. So essentially there's 25,000 TikTok accounts backing Mr. Georgescu. 25,000 is nothing. You're talking about a country with what, 15, 20 million people? And so it's 25,000 TikTok accounts. And then they say 130 TikTok accounts generated between 1,000 and 500,000 views per video. But that's nothing. That's not even, if that is Russian interference, then Russia's really bad at interfering because these numbers are not big at all. And then payment rates about some different influencers being paid. Well, influencers get paid all the time. You don't think influencers were being paid in the US as part of normal election marketing? So if you look at the marketing budget of Georgescu's rival versus Georgescu, it's not even comparable. So if this is Russian interference, then Russia is pretty crap at interfering.
Mario, you said that your legal team advised you do not post the interviews until you are not leaving the country. Why they are afraid? So you said also that it's no more democracy in Romania. So I understand that you know very well Romania. You have a reason to think like this?
You guys have the guts to cancel an entire election, which is something that even the Biden administration was not even thinking about. So when I see a government and those in power canceling an election, for me, it's like, hey, causing issues or jailing a journalist is significantly below that. So you've gone beyond what Brazil has done. Brazil is trying to crack down on X, and that was scary. In Brazil, they launched an investigation into me, a federal investigation to me, Elon, and others. That was a long time ago. But they didn't cancel an election. They tried to influence an election. It's very covert about it. So that's why my legal team was a bit worried, because it's difficult to trust the legal system when you see things like this. And also, to make things worse, Mr. Georgescu had my interview with him in his friend's house, not in the parliament, not in a big office, not a studio, in his friend's house. I'm like, Călin, why are we doing the interview at your friend's house? It's like, it's a table next to the kitchen, there's sounds. He's like, Mario, that's the only safe place I have. And that's the person that was voted to become president of Romania. And to make it even worse than that, that house was almost raided a couple of weeks before my interview. The police were outside the door and wanted to try to get into the door, but Sky News was there and they got a bit scared. So my question to you is that, which logical, sane person would not be worried? And another journalist that came, I think it was Sean or someone else that came to Romania as well, Sean Ryan, I think it was, to interview Călin. I think he was also the one that was a bit worried in Romania to also get into legal trouble. I don't want to speak on his behalf. I'm just sharing what Călin told me. So I'm not alone in sharing those concerns. And you asked the question, is democracy in Romania dead? No, look, I'm an optimist. I have hope. Look, what is a democracy? It's as simple as decentralizing powers. Voting is choosing who you want to lead your country. That's the fundamental, basic principle of a democracy. If you take that away, how can you still call it a democracy? Now, I still call it a democracy. They're trying to take it away, but I don't think Romanians will let that happen. I think we will have another election in May. They're going to try to get Călin Geogrescu out, but I think after JD Vance's speech, they're a bit too scared to do it.
But we want the second run. This is the only situation that we can have the legal in Romania to be again on constitutional frame. This is the only possibility to have second run, but they don't want. But you said earlier in your post that it was a pleasant meeting with Mr. Georgescu and with Mr. George Simion. How do you see them? How you felt them?
So they're very different personalities, both very intelligent. Călin is very calm. He was painted in the media in a certain way, in like a scary. I wouldn't compare him. Some people compare him to Trump. I wouldn't compare him to Trump. He's a very calm and calculated man. I made a joke to, I think it's Mihail. I interviewed Mihail along with George, and I told Mihail, I feel like Simeon is more like Trump. Strong personality, says what he believes, says things that people get upset about. That's Mr. Simeon. And Călin is more calm, more calculated. And everything he says is an educated man. So I actually enjoyed the conversation. And we disagree on some policies, but there's nobody you fully agree with. And when he gives a policy, he explains why he believes a certain policy. Another really interesting thing is that they're talking about Russian interference, yeah? All he spoke about, you've seen that in the interview, all he spoke about is about freedom in the US. How he wants a partnership with the US, how he looks up to the US and free speech in the US and the concept of freedom. That's all he talked about. And then for someone to paint that person as a Russian asset or someone that colluded with Russia or having Russian interference makes no sense whatsoever. He doesn't speak positively about Russia. Very objective about it.
I agree with you because for 2 months I am the public enemy number one here in Romania because of this, because I support him, because I support these principles, not him like a person. I want to ask you something about after the JD Vance speech. EU seems to be concerned and they are preparing to defend today in Paris. How do you see the evolutions in the last 72 hours?
So I think I was listening to the mainstream media covering JD Vance's speech, and they were shocked. They're like, this is the first time at the Munich conference any leader speaks like that. So they were very shocked. But JD Vance was very authentic and very accurate with his concerns. He's like, hey, your worry is not Russia. You'll mark my words, very, very soon, you'll see a peace agreement, a peace deal between NATO, Ukraine, and Russia. Obviously, some people will be unhappy with the details of it. That's a separate discussion. And you'll see that relationship between, and there's a big taboo thing to say, but I'm being objective. The relations between Russia and the US and eventually the EU, but starting out Russia and the US, will improve because strategically it's important for it to improve. And remember, Germany and the US were enemies many decades ago, and now they're very, very strong allies. So Russia and the US will form an alliance, some sort of alliance, because US sees China as their main rival, as their main threat. Okay? So based on these facts, we get basic geopolitical analysis. Russia cannot be seen as the main threat for Europe. The threat is from within. Did Russia cancel your election? No. Putin didn't send his army and cancel your election. You guys canceled your own election. Is Russia jailing people in the UK for what they post? No. Is Russia jailing the person I interviewed in Poland a few days ago that is facing 3 years in jail for liking a video? No. That's the Polish authorities that are doing that. That's the European Parliament that's requesting different countries to censor their own citizens or letting different countries to censor their own citizens. So yes, the threat is from within. And I hope people slowly realize that as we see peace in Ukraine and less people die.
We hope so. Because you spoke about Germany, what do you think what happened at this end of week when we have election in Germany?
Yeah, so that's a lot of people are watching that. I don't think we'll see anything similar to Romania again. And I think Romania will go back to being a democracy because the US and JD fans scared the hell out of the establishment. And I think it's a big wake-up call. And not only, it's not about US scaring the establishment, it's more the US and JD Vance's speech waking up Europeans to what's happening in their own country. I think Europeans are not used to listening. On mainstream media, it's all about Russia this, Russia that. Will World War III start? Will they fire a nuclear weapon? We're not in World War III. They haven't fired a nuclear weapon, despite all the NATO support in Ukraine, and we're about to reach a peace agreement very soon. And for JD Vance to come and say, guys, that's not your worry. Your worry is your own country taking away your free speech, taking away your freedom, controlling, centralizing power more and more. That's the main threat that you have. I think it's something that will make it very difficult for any shenanigans to happen in Germany. I think the AfD party will gain a lot more support than people expect, probably well over 20%. And we'll see what happens afterwards.
You think that will work, the silent vote, like what in Romania also?
Potentially, yeah. I don't know Romania. Look, I don't know European politics as much as I know American politics, but I do know that what happened in Romania is a wake-up call. It's two wake-up calls. The first one is the cancellation of an election, and could that happen in other countries? The second one is the silent vote.
So this is the reason that they are so afraid about what happened in Romania, because it is a wake-up call for whole Europe.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call for Europe. It's also it could trigger a continuation of the political shift we're seeing in the European Union. Georgescu's win is a massive shock to the world, is a massive shock to Europe. And blaming it on Russian interference diminishes the shock. It's like, we thought he won, but he did it. It's just Russia. So it removes that shock. It should be all over the media. But what they did to reduce the shock is do something even more shocking, and that's cancel the entire election.
Mariano, I saw you that you were also in Poland, in Slovakia. Trump administration needs to have a sovereignist leader in these countries to apply the new directions in also in Europe.
Yeah, look, I think when you talk about a sovereignist leader, you're talking about sovereignty. Sovereignty means you control your own fate. So I think Trump and his administration will be forming alliances with countries rather than parties. And I think Europe, especially the conservative movement, it's become very fragmented. What we're seeing is in the ruling parties, they're all joining together. But I'm not seeing that across all the various conservative political parties in Europe. We haven't seen a similar figure to Trump or Elon in the US, someone in Europe. And what we're seeing is people in Europe still looking to the US. They're still looking for Elon to pay attention to what they're talking about. They're still looking for Trump or JD Vance to give a speech. But look from within. There's people like Trump, there's people like Elon within the EU that can support that movement, that can support free speech, that can support freedom, that can support sovereignty, that can be critical about the immigration laws that you guys have. So I hope countries like Slovakia, like Poland, will find someone within the EU to lead that movement for them.
The last question, please. Do you have any information about what Richard Grenell posted on his X concern USAID found in Romania? Somebody from US maybe will come in the next weeks in Romania. Do you have some information about this?
I don't have anything that's not public already, but I do want to say that the only thing I can say is expect a lot more. Expect a lot more revelations, and I think you'll be seeing a lot more signs of. So be careful what I say, but
So you know a lot of things. It's clear that you know a lot of things about what will happen.
What we know is that the US have had their hands in multiple pots around the world, and they've done it in such convoluted ways. Mike Benz talks about it really well. Mike Benz has spent his life analyzing this, and they've done it in such convoluted ways to try to hide it through various NGOs, through USAID. Just the fact that USAID has donated money to Soros's NGO says it all. And we know what Soros's influence is in Europe. That says it all. Just look at the amount of influence Soros and his NGOs have in Europe, and the amount of funds sent from USAID to Soros directly to his NGO, and that's the direct funds that we know of. Should essentially answer your question of what you'll be seeing over the next few weeks and months.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mario. And I hope that you will come again in Romania. I'm waiting for you in my TV show if you want. I guarantee you that nobody will arrest you, because for 2 months I'm doing this every day on the TV show and nobody arrests me yet. I don't know. Maybe what happened.
I respect your courage.
Thank you so much, Mario.